Now live.
Okay, Dr.
Okay,
Saurabh
thank
Abdul.
you. I thank Ashochem, DS Rajoraji, and the entire team for doing this session on impact of union budget on capital markets. I also pay my humble obeisances to the respectable members, including Shri S.C. Agarwal ji, Shri Parag Jain ji, Shri Kunal Singhvi ji, Shri Narendra Wadhwa ji, Shri Shripal Shah ji, Shri Jayant Gandhi ji, Shri Jigar Shah ji, who are all father figures in the area of capital markets. Uh, I would, since budget 2021 has created a kind of V-shaped recovery in the capital markets. And when I say V-shaped recovery, in the economic survey, we saw this term being exactly emphasized. And why I say so? If you track the BSE Sensex, just 10 days before and 5 days after the budget, we will see that it was somewhere around 50,000. Then it dived to 46,000, and then it again went up to 50,731, clearly showing the V shape, which gives the sentiment that the next year we are going to have a lot of boom and bust. Now, when I say, I feel the biggest announcement which has happened, and I think I must compliment the government to bring out this issue of a rationalized single securities market code by 2022. What does it mean? In very simple terms, I would say SEBI Act, which regulates the capital markets, 1992, the Depositories Act 1996, which regulates the securities, every share, who owns it. It is there with the Depositories Act 1996. Then Securities Contract Regulation Act, which takes care of the stock exchanges, the rules, 1956. Government Securities Act 2007.
Intricacies of the larger micro matters of the finance as well as he does.
So all these four acts will be combined together, and one combined, unified securities market code will come by 2022. What does it mean? It means it will simplify the regulations governing the securities market. If I talk in terms of why markets are going up, it has a rationality. What is the rationality? COVID cases going down. GDP, we say next year we will have real growth of 11%, nominal growth rate of 15%. Inflation is going down. And what has happened in this budget 2021, the government has given excessive focus on health and infrastructure. When I say infrastructure, focus has been laid on electricity, rail, road, shipping, Jal Jeevan mission. While this is the positive side, there is a negative side also. The index of industrial production has gone down, and there is need for the industry to bring out its to bring up its production. Second thing to be wary of is stress in the banking sector. So if you are investing in banking sector, be very careful. And as Shri S.C. Agarwal ji and other members said, one must keep booking profit, because the minute stress figure comes out in the market, there may be bottoms and before any up can happen. Another very pending issue is unemployment, which is, the official statistics is 6%, but the unofficial statistics is 9%. And although there has been a lot of focus on infrastructure, no direct recruitment, I could observe in union budget. Then agriculture distress is also increasing, and with the current strike of farmers, I feel the agrarian stress may further increase. There has been another very big announcement for automobile sector, the voluntary vehicle scrapping policy. What it means for the capital markets, I feel this scheme of the government is likely to bring in a lot of push to the automobile sector, and automobile constitutes giving 48% in the industry employment. So What will impact? All the stocks related to auto sector. I should see in next 1 year, they should, I mean, they might go up, particularly some companies which are reporting lakhs and lakhs of sales. It is coming in the newspaper. I would not like to name any company because of the platform we are on, but I feel the vehicle scrapping. Secondly, it will create a lot of employment opportunities for those companies and those industries which are involved in the scrapping business, and a new concept of circular economy may arise, whereby before creating a car, how it is going to be dismantled and how each part is going to be used, a new industry may tend to come up. I shall also see, what I see in next 1 year is there has been focus on world-class fintech hub at GIFT IFSC. I think financial services firm would also be getting a push after this budget and focus on creating a financial hub.
આજે ક્યાં
Yes.
જોડી નથી.
Okay, now we are going forward. Also, the corporate bond market, it has been very, low, very small size in India, and a permanent institutional framework has been designed. I do see that the corporate bond market may tend to see a push. Plus, retail investors have now been allowed to directly invest in government securities. Now, what does this mean? It actually means now a retail investor, which was only available to institutional investors. That means if you are a financial institution, you can invest in GSECs. Now, each retail investor directly, either through his demat account or through mutual fund route, can have access to GSECs, which are auctioned by the Reserve Bank of India, and can have rates, interest rates better than FD. But this is good. But if people shift towards FD, we may see the stock market, which has seen a boom, it may go down. It depends upon the risk perception. If the COVID cases keep on going down, the vaccine keeps on doing the good thing, we should see health stocks also to be rising. I also foresee a very good future for the insurance sector because FDI limits have been increased. This was a long pending demand of the insurance sector, and I think competition, the market penetration, and insurance stocks particularly, I see should be some sort of on a roller coaster road in this particular 21-22. I see the government following the prudence of increasing the capital expenditure, and at the same time, this year the fiscal deficit is 9%, but the next year it is focused to be 6.8%. I feel this is also fiscal prudence. On the retail investor, one more thing which has been done in association with the income taxes, pre-filling of returns will also cover capital gains from listed securities, dividend income. What does it mean? It means a lot of people do not participate in the capital markets because they fear, who will calculate my capital gains? How would I know where my dividend has come? Particularly old people. To enable them more ease in terms of filing of returns, a pre-filling of returns has been enabled under the e-governance norm, and I must compliment the government for doing this. Now my return, when I can download, it will be pre-filled. What is my capital gains? What is my dividend return? How much it happens, I don't know. We'll have to see. But the niti bahut achhi hai, and I think this is something very good. Also, dividend payment to REITs, that is REIT or Invest IT, has been exempted from TDS. This is also very good in the sense that REITs have not been doing very the way they should have performed, the way we should have had more. Giving some sort of incentive to them, I feel, is something very good which has happened in this particular budget. Also, I see that giving additional 1.5 lakhs for affordable housing, those companies which are there in affordable housing group, they should also benefit because this 1.5 lakh scheme has been extended again. When we look at markets in general, what we see
Yes.
from November 2020 till February this year, we have our BSE Sensex has gained by 27.6%.
हाँ मुझे क्या आवाज
Oh, welcome Love ji. बस मैं 2 मिनट और लूंगा and then I'll right.
तो बोलूं
If we look at all the indices, what we observe is BSE Sensex has increased by 27%. It is not only BSE Sensex. Look at other indices. Nifty 23.5, DAX 30 19.3, Hang Seng 19%, Dow Jones 18.3.
ये मुझे आगे आवाज आ रही है पूरी आवाज
15%. Now, why I have cited this data that the indices world over have risen from 15 to 27%. Our stock markets are giving the highest return. So all those participants who are attending this very valuable, very important meeting organized, equities is the second highest return giving asset. So do not miss out on the bus, particularly in the health sector, particularly in the automobile sector, particularly in other financial services sector. One, we expect the markets to further go up, particularly because there is normalization coming in our global economy with people and economy going on to back on track. I shall see, not with even an iota of doubt, that markets are likely to rise. I am also likely to see all those companies which are taking benefit of the production linked incentive scheme of the government of India, particularly those companies which are involved in manufacture of air conditioners and LEDs. They will benefit in 21-22 after budget 21-22 because they have been given 4 to 6% incentives on additional sales. I think government is saying we must become Atmanirbhar and we must reduce our imports. I mean, just to quote, we import $1.1 billion worth of air conditioners every year. Now, under Atmanirbhar scheme, if some company is able to increase, it will get benefit, and that benefit will come into greater profits, and that will lead to greater stock market performance. With this, I think I thank the ASSOCHAM. I see a very bright future for stock markets, and all the members of ASSOCHAM being an ardent, sevak of Goddess Lakshmi, to be very healthy, wealthy, and rich. Thank you and Jai Hind.
Thank you, Dr. Saurabh Agarwal, for giving different aspects of economic benefits to the budget. And now we are glad to have Mr. Love Chaturvedi, Chairman of National Council of ASSOCHAM on Capital Market and Investors Protection. Welcome, Mr. Love Chaturvedi.
Thank you all. I hope you could hear me.
Yeah, we started in your absence, and Dr. Agarwal has already covered so many points. And now I request you to please chair the meeting and conduct the proceedings.
Okay, perfect. For first thing first, I want to sincerely apologize to the panelists. There was a minor technical glitch at my end, which got rectified. I did join somewhere in between Mr. Agarwal's thing, and I couldn't agree with him more about an opportunities that lies in front of us. I would just like to begin with how the budget speech got begun by Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman, where she said that faith is the bird that feels the light when the dawn is still dark. This is a famous quote from Rabindranath Tagore, and very apt for the budget that came out. Obviously, this budget has, according to me, this budget is a lot more than just a budget. It's a lot more messaging. It's a messaging about a rejuvenated India. It's a messaging about resurgent India. It's a messaging that India no longer and just apologize, excuse me for this, but no longer give damn to any Indian rating agency, any rating agency for that matter, that gives a sovereign rating in a bit of a discriminatory treatment, where India has a very low debt to GDP ratio, but still have got a little lower rating compared to the Western world. Obviously, growth is the key propeller. The growth is the mantra for this budget, uh, through three key themes that the growth is envisaged by our esteemed finance minister. One is by reforms, second by the increase in the capital expenditures, and third, obviously, through the monetization plan. I would obviously, on behalf of ASSOCHAM, I must say that this was one of the most progressing budget that we have seen. And to an extent, it is not any less event than 91 from the financial market and the economy perspective. I would not take much time because it has already begun and I'm a bit late. Uh, Budget has a lot of focus areas, and I think we probably would try to go quickly around the panelists to get their specific views on each of the areas that budget has covered. I would like to invite Mr. Agarwal, our esteemed panelist, and give his views overall on how does it see this from the capital market, from financial market, and overall from country perspective. It's always good to hear Mr. Agarwal's view. And sir, it's all yours.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Love Chaturvedi. It's wonderful. First of all, I would like to congratulate Mr. Rajoraji for inviting me, giving me a chance, and organizing this seminar. Impact of Union Budget on Capital Market. Mr. Love Chaturvedi, Mr. Parag Jain, Mr. Sripal Saha, Mr. Jigar Saha, Professor Dr. Saurabh Agrawal, Mr. Narendra Wadhwa, Mr. Kunal Sanghvi ji, Mr. Jayesh Gandhi ji, and Mr. D.S. Rajora, Assistant Secretary General, ASSOCHAM. Good evening, everyone. There is no doubt budget is extremely good in comparison to 1991 presented by Dr. Manmohan Singh. So it's very good, and it has been seen in the index, Sensex as well as Nifty. You all know that Nifty was up 4.74% to 14,281.2 on the budget day, and Sensex was up 5%. It was 48,600. And even today, on Friday, since budget day till Friday, it was increasing. Sensex and Nifty both were increasing on daily basis. So Nifty was 14,925 at the end of the Friday, and Sensex was 50,731. So that kind of increment in Sensex and Nifty we have seen. If we talk sector wise, let us discuss first infrastructure. In budget 2021-22, an outlay of rupees 5,54,000 crores has been proposed by the government. So they also proposed a development financial institution for infrastructure financing for with a initial equity capital of 20,000 crore and capacity of 5 lakh crore, lending capacity of 5 lakh crore in 3 years. And national infrastructure pipeline was launched with 6,835 projects initially. Later on, it's expanded to 7,400 projects and 111 lakh crore in 5-6 years. And the many infrastructure, NHAI and PGCIL given the mandate of Infrastructure Investment Trust to attract global funds. So 5 operational roads with an estimated enterprise value of 5,000 crore are being transferred to NHAI InvIT. In the same way, Union Budget offered a second chance to financially ailing power distribution companies with the finance minister announcing rupees 3,05,982 crore outlay for revival. It's a second scheme. Earlier, Uday was there, but that has not been successful. Still, NPAs were there. So this kind of outlay they have given. So if you see the Nifty infra on that budget day was up by 4.94%, BSE infra up by 5.56%, Nifty energy up by 2.65%, and BSE energy up by 2.57%. If we talk to company wise, L&T was up by 8.55%, Adani Ports up by 6.48%, GMR Infrastructure up by 4.19%, RITES up by 1.58%, Dilip Buildcon up by 4.19%. If we talk about top power generating and distribution companies by Adani Green up by 1.93%, Power Grid Corporation up by 2.41%, NTPC up by 3.43%, Adani Transmission up by 4.64%, Tata Power up by 5.97%. And if we go by banking, financial services, and insurance, so again, finance minister announced a stress assets resolution mechanism. The selling of a bad assets to a bad bank, or for that a new ARC and AMC will be built, and that will procure the banking NPAs, and they will recover. They will do some hanky panky and everything to make them good, or subsequently they will sell to AIF, alternate investment fund, or some privatization, and something can be done. Something better will be done. So freeing the NPA assets of the bank. So and announcing capitalization of bank, recapitalization of bank by announcing 20,000 crore rupees in the budget. So if we talk about BSE BankX on that day, up 8.33%, BSE Finance up by 7.49%, Nifty Bank up by 8.26%, and Nifty Finance 7.6%, Nifty PSU Bank up by 7.83%. And if we talk about HDFC Bank 6.2%, ICICI Bank 12%, Kotak Mahindra Bank up by 5%, SBI 10%, Axis Bank 7%, IndusInd Bank 14.71%. And if we talk about finance companies, HDFC up by 8.47%, Bajaj Finance 6.84%, Bajaj Finserv 11%, SBI Cards 2.07%, HDFC AMC 2.76%. And in insurance, Mr. Saurabh has told that they are changing Insurance Act by increasing from 49% FDI to 74%. So it's a huge booster to the insurance companies, and that is why HDFC Life Insurance up by 3.13%, SBI Life Insurance up by 1.16%, ICICI Prudential Life up by 1.76%, ICICI Lombard up by 3.79%. These are all on budget day, and even subsequent days shares were up. And if we talk about real estate companies, so for affordable housing, 1.5 lakh interest payment, that holiday has been extended one more year. Beside 2 lakhs already interest allowed, so total 3.5 lakh allowed to the individual who has borrowed funds. So BSE Realty Index 6.65% up, Nifty Realty Index 6.31% up. So if we talk about the real stock, DLF up by 10%, Godrej Properties up by 5%, Oberoi Realty 2.26%, Prestige Estates 4.22%, Phoenix Mills 7.66%. Steel, if we talk, certain custom duty on steel will be reduced to 7.5% on semi, flat, and long products of non-alloy and stainless steels. Duty on steel scrap will be exempted till March 2022. So if you talk about stock, JSW Steel up by 3.82%, Tata Steel up by 5.84%, Hindalco up by 6.56%, NMDC up by 3.47%, Jindal Steel up by 6.02%, SAIL up by 10.42%. And ease of doing business, MSC allocation has been doubled, around 15,700 crore. Tax audit limit increased to rupees 10 crore from 5 crore. This has been done to improve the ease of doing business for micro, small enterprises. A new world-class fintech hub in Gift City. Allocation rupees 1,500 crore for promoting digital payments. A new reconciliation mechanism for quick resolution of contractual disputes. Separate network for debt resolution for MSMEs. Agriculture, again, agriculture infra cess was imposed on gold, silver, and gold dore, and government also credit limit has increased 16.5 lakh crore as against 15 lakh crore in the previous budget. So provision of rural infrastructure development fund has been increased 40,000 crore from 30,000 crore. Subsidies in the sector, financial year 22, fertilizer subsidy at rupees 80,000 crore, food subsidy as 2.43 lakh crore. So stocks up, UPL it was down 4.74%, Coromandel down 1.59%, Sumitomo Chemicals India up 2.17%, Bayer Crop Science up by 0.16%. And if we talk about healthcare, Nifty Pharma, it was down, Sun Pharma 0.67% up, DV Lab up 2.78%, Dr. Reddy Laboratory down because these pharmaceuticals were earlier very up before budget, but still government finance minister has given allocation of 2.23 lakh crore budget outlay as against 94,450 crore. That means 137% bigger budget. And Prime Minister Atmanirbhar Swasth Bharat Yojana 64,180 crore, and declaring various health centers, boosting up various schemes and all that. So again, 1,75,000 crore was the disbursement target. Fiscal deficit target 6.8% for the financial year 22, and for 21 it was 9.5%. And finance minister has said that she will bring down to fiscal deficit 4.5% in 25-26. That means she is keeping fiscal deficit till that time comfortably. FDI limit increase, as I told you, insurance sector from 49 to 70%. 7 mega textile parks in 3 years could boost the textile sector. These parks will be set up in 1,000 acres of land, and 10,683 crore has been allocated beside PLI scheme for textile sector. Scrappage policy, as told by Mr. Saurabh Agarwal, scrappage policy, R&D and PLI among 13 sectors. Gold exchange will be set up in IFSC, and under SARFAESI Act, eligible limit has been increased, has been down up to 20,000 lakh to 20 lakhs from 50 lakhs, and SME definition has been increased from 50 lakhs to 2 crore, and turnover from 2 crore to 20 crore, and allocation to MSME sector is 15,700 crore. Special framework for MSME for debt resolution. NCLT framework will also be strengthened. Agri infrastructure also imposed on petrol and diesel. Tax department to give various benefit. Disbursement by BPCL, Air India, Shipping Corporation, IDBI, CCI, BEML, Pawan Hans, and 2 PSU bank, 1 insurance sector, and IPO by LIC. So PLI scheme has covered 13 sectors. Strategic sector, 4 areas where bare minimum CPC will keep as a strategic, and rest will be either disinvested or they can close or privatize. So I think for capital market, that's all. Thank you very much for giving me a chance. So, dhanyawad.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Agarwal, for a quick overview on not just some of the steps taken in the budget, but what it has impacted stock-wise over last few days. Thanks for that. With this, I will probably move to Mr. Parag Jain. Actually, there is one. Obviously, I would request Mr. Jain to give his views overall. But one thing which was specifically came out, which I think a lot of people are still grappling with, is the introduction of the Unified Securities Market Code by consolidating the provision of the SEBI and the depository and the government. And I think this is one of the key reform area which have a very transforming impact. But I will let Mr. Parag to take it forward and explain that and anything on the overall budget as well. Mr. Jain, all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chaturvedi. Thanks a lot. Thanks, ASSOCHAM, for inviting me for this panel, and I'm really honored to be in the company of all of you. So, Mr. Chaturvedi, you really picked up my favorite subject actually here, because I would think among the business guys that you guys are, you would probably underappreciate it a bit because it's a little more technical, or the security law side of things. Now, of course, there's been talk of consolidation of these three acts. The Depositories Act and SCRA and SEBI Act. So one thing is always obviously a gain out of such an exercise, which is consolidation, removing duplication, rationalizing some of the archaic provisions, which all of that will definitely happen. I mean, if it's implemented well. But what is the most important part here is that SCRA was written way back. I mean, it's a law which is probably 70 years old or 75 years old. It really needed to be rewritten, and so when you rewrite that law, it will hit on one of the major themes of this budget, which is debottlenecking. Right now, I don't know whether it will be popular for me to say, but there are only 2 stock exchanges in this country, right? I mean, and very little innovation I mean, there's been a lot of strengthening of safety of these exchanges, but where has been the innovation? And I'll just explain this a little. Forgive me for getting a little technical here, but the way SCRA works is that if you have a platform and it enables buying and selling of securities, then it becomes a stock exchange. Okay.
Yep.
And if it becomes a stock exchange, then it has to be like a BSE or an NSE, which means all the clearing corporation, the bylaws, the risk management framework, the entire works, right? And so we need some smaller versions of BSE and NSE. I mean, my favorite examples, for example, this ESOPs in companies like Flipkart and in the startup space. Now, a lot of employees don't have liquidity there. So a stock exchange, I mean, subject to a proper examination, could be you could have a small platform where you give liquidity to these stocks, and it could be accessible only to UHNIs. So I mean, you don't want to expose the retail to that thing, but so all stock exchanges need not tick all the 3 boxes of governance, liquidity, and price discovery. So I mean, so it will be without listing. So maybe the governance aspect will not be there, but that's the nature of startups. You can't burden them with the governance right up front. I mean, that comes at a much later stage. So I think this revamping of SCRA and consolidation of these 3 acts is going to lead to debottlenecking and also to spur the innovation in the stock exchange sector. And that's what I am actually very excited about, being a person of this area. The second thing, which I mean at a very big picture level, because a lot of details have already been provided very competently by people who know a lot more than I do. But I think the major heartening factor about this budget is, like Mr. Chaturvedi just mentioned, the budget is also something which gives a message, right? And the message is loud and clear. It's reform. I mean, this is the first time they used the word privatization for banks. I mean, they would call it disinvestment, they would call it something else, but they're saying privatization. Privatization of public. This has been the elephant in the room for so long. You know, these public sector banks stuck with bad assets and stuck with not very good governance. And now they're saying we'll privatize the bank, so the governance is addressed. On the other side, you create a bad bank or the ARC, and you know it will help clean up the balance sheet of the bank. So I mean, this is very bold. I mean, in the context of our country, right, where we are a political economy, right? So it's not easy to come to reforms of such nature. And then there is also talk about disinvestment policy, and there is also, you know, the like Mr. Agarwal mentioned, the insurance sector FDI limit being increased. So it has reform written all over the place, you know, and that's the thing which I find very heartening, you know, and government also planning to use these structures, AIFs and InvITs, you know, and also giving those concessions on TDS on these two structures. Now, this will make these structures more popular than they are now. I mean, they're already doing well, but you know they can go long way ahead. So that's another heartening aspect about the budget. Apart from, of course, the IFSC initiative which government is talking about, and today I saw some headline which also talks about Indians being able to send money but through LRS to IFSC now. So you know the overall direction is bold and in favor of reform and debottlenecking, and that's what heartens me the most about this budget.
Thank you. I think, Mr. Jain, you're absolutely right. And the key word is debottlenecking. If through the reforms, the debottlenecking can happen across the board, then I think obviously the execution part probably will become a bit easier. Obviously, that we still need to see how it's getting executed. Thanks so much for your work. I would and your wisdom there. Thanks, sir. I would now more like to move on to Mr. Shah. And Mr. Shah, who has the background from Kotak Securities in the finance and technologies. Mr. Shah, if you could obviously give your views on the budget, but also based upon something specific on we hear, and I think Mr. Jain also mentioned about fintech and these kind of companies. What is it in the budget? The gift cities, the startups. If you can give something along those lines and your overall view. Over to you, Mr. Shah.
Thank you, Mr. Love, and thank you, SHM, for providing this opportunity. I'm happy to be part of the esteemed panelist and share my views on that. First and foremost, there is no doubt about the budget being very bold and beautiful. It is quite a departure from the earlier budgets that you could see. One, you start with the budget, and the budget was quite shorter. It was not a very lengthy one, but at the same time, it was very impactful. I mean, India has taken a path of spend more, borrow more, and grow more, rather than curtail fiscal deficit, raise taxes, try to pacify the international investor or worry about rating agencies internationally. I think it is a clear departure from the fact and being bold about aspiration that we want to be growing. We also want to grow. When world economies have pumped in $10 trillion kind of help without worrying about fiscal deficit, I think India has also taken the same path and shown the aspiration that we want to be coming from developing world to the developed world. So I think a couple of things which I will just highlight from the budget that is catching the attention, and which is actually proving that it is a core fundamental change for the Indian economy that is going to come out. First and foremost, 26% increase in the capital expenditure to 5.5 lakh crore. Now, if you look at last 2 years combined together, the capital expenditure by governments has gone up by 62% in last 2 years, and that is quite a lot. The entire capital investment going into infrastructure, road, transport, metros, ports, definitely is going to spur the investment. And again, that will create the flying wheel effect. It will also increase the credit offtake, and of course that will lead to employment, then spur the demand, and then automatically that will get into a very circuitous growth cycle that you want to get in, and that will definitely get us the multiplier effect. Nominal GDP growth of 14% on the backdrop of contracted GDP is also good. Fiscal deficit, which was 9.5 year current year, is projected at 6.8% next year, and the target to move to 4.5% by 2025-26. I think is a very bold move. Whereas, I mean, it is very important to note that for current year, uh, the target for the fiscal deficit for us was 3.5%. Now against 3.5%, we are closing at 9.5%. Of course, that was extraordinary situation. Government has to spend, and they've spent, and they are at 9.5%. But I don't think we are being shy about being 9.5% fiscal deficit. And next year also with 6.8% budgetary fiscal deficit, with 12 lakh crore kind of borrowing committed by the government. Again, government is not worried about becoming too spending and increasing the bond yield. I am sure RBI and government both will work together to ensure that inflation, bond yield, and the borrowing program goes hand in hand. Another fundamental change which government has done, and which is again the entire food subsidy, which was never part of the budgetary deficit, the entire FCI procurement, it is also now included in the government spend program, and it is part of now fiscal deficit. So now it is increasing more transparency. The budgetary figures are more reliable, more credible, and it includes all the spend by the government. So it is again a step towards ensuring that we are completely transparent and completely credible. Now I will come back about some of the announcements specific to the capital market impacting. Some of them already been covered. Common Security Market Code, which Mr. Jain has already covered. It is going to merge four act together. What I see one advantage, and I think Mr. Agarwal also mentioned about it. The most important part of this four act is, of course, NSDL Act and SEBI Act and SCRA are going to be were always part of the SEBI preview. But the Government Security Act now coming into this common code is going to help retail investor participate in government security program. Now the 12 lakh crore kind of a government borrowing, and think about retail investor not participating in it. I think that is a remarkable change. It will come, of course, today in some mode and fashion. Retail investors are allowed to bid in the primary auction only up to the 5% of the primary issuance, but liquidity out there is very low. There is no interoperability between the government security which is being traded on the RBI platform and which is participated by the institutional investor versus what is being allocated on the capital market segment through this primary issuance. With this common code, we hope that it will bring in more streamlining of the entire government security market. It will be more accessible to the retail investor to participate into government security program. So that is the biggest change that I can see from the investment perspective. Of course, the operational efficiency and removing redundancy between all these old act, I think is going to be the great in terms of having a leaner and cleaner code for the market. The another important point, which also is a announcement regarding investment charter. I think first time again government has come out with announcing that they are going to be having an investment charter, which is a right for every citizen when they are getting into any financial investment. I'm sure this is going to be a great protection to the Indian investor when they are investing into any financial asset. And so these are some of the fundamental changes which is being done. Again, that is quite a departure from a lot of budgets where you have got tweaking of rates and small changes, which does not mean big. But here you don't have small tweaking, but it is more about fundamental and structurally reforming India. Now coming back to the part on the impact of this budget on the market. Of course, it is going to be spurring investment, which will create demand, and it will get into completely a growth phase for Indian market. People are comparing this growth phase as 2004 to 2008, which India had corporate earning had grown 20% year on year in that phase, and most of the analysts are comparing this phase at start 2021 as a starting point of that growth phase for Indian market. And if that were to come, I am sure we are in a good place for the capital market investment. Another important point to note that calendar year 2020, the two sectors which outperformed the entire market were IT and healthcare. IT grew up by 53%, and healthcare moved up by 57%. So of course, this way, these two sectors were the darling of the market, and they grew and they rewarded the investor. They were at the right place, and still they are at the right place. They might also offer returns to the investor, but I think one thing which is glaringly coming to mind is that last year the bank Nifty was down by 5% in the full calendar year. And if you look at the way current budget is announcing the bad bank structure, which is going to effectively work as a ARC and AMC for the bad asset and NP of the banks, I think that is going to take a lot of stress away from the bank. They will not worry much about the past NPAs. They can just sell it off these NPAs at a discounted price to this AMC, and they can just focus on the growth and credit. And once they focus on the credit, and I'm sure credit growth will come, that will further spur the demand and investment. So I think there are structural changes that will help the entire investment cycle to spur in. Remember, this is the right time to do ERC and AMC bad bank structure, because most of the NPAs in the banking system have been provided and taken hit by the banks. I mean, currently gross NPA for the banking sector is approximately around 7.5%. And as per RBI estimate, within 6 months, it might reach to 13.5%. Now, if this were to be the size of the NPA, and if bank were to deal with it, they would focus, or they would rather spend more time on dealing with the NPA rather than focusing on credit growth. So I think this bad bank initiative seems to me that it is going to be a very, very important landmark for the banking industry. And with this, I think banking stocks looks to be very, very undervalued. If you look at one fundamental parameter, last year, the peak for the banking stock between the forward price to book value was 2.65x. Their market cap versus the book value was 2.65x. Currently, they are trading at around 2.16x. So technically, they are still off their low of their peak. And the way things are structured currently, all the cyclicals, which is infrastructure stock, construction, real estate, engineering, cement, metal, power, etc., will grow, and obviously that will also help bank to grow along with them, providing and participating those investment journey. So to that extent, I think banking sector, apart from all the cyclicals, economic-driven stocks, are going to be in a sweet spot in terms of investment theme. And now coming back to last question on the fintech and investment and startups, I think Indian market last year was witness of the strength of the capital and digital in Indian market. While FIIs were selling in March, April, and May, it is the Indian investor with the help of the technology which came to this market, and they invested at the bottom of the market, and the entire digital ecosystem of the capital market has helped investor to onboard and buy those stocks at the right time. If you look at it, the growth in the capital market, currently last year, the volume, cash market, equity market volume was 40,000 crore on daily basis. Currently, we are talking 1 lakh crore. The share of mobile turnover, mobile trading turnover, which was 25% last year, current year we already reached 40%. So 40% of the total volume and investment is happening in India through mobile. And if you include internet trading, that figure comes to 60%. So currently 60% of the entire investment in trading in Indian market is already happening with the mobile and technology. So I think mobile and millennials are the game which has ensured that Indian market was supported. When FIs were selling, there was investment coming from the domestic side. It was domestic mutual fund as well as the retail investor. They've ensured that there was a balance maintained, and currently FIs have turned positive. In fact, If you look at it in last year, FIs have invested $23 billion, which is highest for any emerging market economy to get in last year. And FIs are still pumping the money. And as long as the low interest rate and dollar weakness continues, I think FIs money will continue to flow. Retail investment is already there in the market. In fact, surprisingly or naturally, mutual fund and DIs are on the net sell side because a lot of investors are selling mutual fund, and thereby mutual funds are having to sell, but they are directly investing into the market. So domestic investors like mutual funds are selling, and retail investors are directly buying into the market. So this is the phenomena. And in terms of startup ecosystem, there is a lot of innovation happening in this capital market space. SEBI has been very proactive in terms of engaging with startup. They've also launched sandbox environment where startups are free to come and board, take approval without worrying about regulatory. They can actually experiment the innovation, and you can see umpteen numbers of innovation which is happening in startup space, and SEBI is completely supporting that. So I think net, whether you look at technology, whether you look at liquidity, and whether you look at the fundamental, all three are completely poised in the right manner for Indian capital market to thrive. So that's about from my side. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, thanks, Mr. Shah. That was a very detailed insight on various parameters of the budget inputs. In a couple of things, one clearly, as you rightly mentioned, we probably have to see whether the growth which has been expected out of this budget will be similar to what 2004 to 8 would be. That is an expectation, and hopefully we will be able to execute that. Another point which you very interestingly made is about FPI money that is coming into the India. Obviously, there was a time when, as you mentioned, that when FPIs were taking money out, some of the counter cyclical measures and the money was provided by the domestic institution. Now with 23 billion or above, which has come in so far, and the domestic institutions have been a seller, the question is that how this is going to pan out, and what is, from the budget perspective, how FPIs are going to see that, maybe overall how it's going to impact. And for this, I would like to invite my friend Mr. Jigar Shah, who heads the Maybank Kimang, and I would like to just request him to give his views on overall impact as well, however more specific on this entire FPI flows and how we can expect this to pan out in some time to come. Mr. Shah, all yours, Jigar.
Hi, good evening all. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay. So first of all, thank you ASSOCHAM for inviting me to your budget presentation event. And thank you to Mr. Love Chaturvedi as well. I'm honored to be with a very distinguished and learned panel. And I'll be brief. I'll try to reflect the perspective of foreign institutional investors with whom I deal on a regular basis. For me, what stood out in the budget was that we were in the backdrop of pandemic, an unprecedented situation. And that's why the budget became very, very crucial. Generally, a lot of developments these days take place outside of the budget. So budget is not as important as probably it was some 20, 25 years ago. But this budget was very important. And the one thing which would please everybody is that the decision to spend has been taken. There is no restraint or there is no reluctance. It's a full-fledged strategy launched that we will have a higher fiscal deficit for the next 4 or 5 years, but we will spend. So I think that is one very good thing, because the clarity was very much needed. For all these years, I think the focus was on consolidation of the fiscal deficit and sticking to the FRBM. But a detour has been taken at a very good time, and the occasion is justifying all of that. So that's one good thing, and hopefully because of this, not only we will have growth in FY22, which is a recovery year, and everybody knows that there's going to be a double-digit growth rate, but in 23-24 as well, we should have a reasonable GDP growth rate. The second thing is sometimes not doing anything is also a good policy, and this budget exactly does that in terms of not doing anything with the taxes. Generally, you find some or the other googly with the taxes, and that kind of peters down the market confidence by the end of the day. So it starts with a great deal of enthusiasm, and then it ends with some damn squeeb hurting the sentiment. So thankfully, this time around, there is no such thing, and that should be very pleasing. And I believe that just like any other investors or even citizens, even the foreign investors love the consistency and simplicity. So this budget ticks the box on that. The other few things that stand out are in terms of privatization. I would call it a little bit of, in the corporate parlance, a capital reallocation. I think that is music to the ears of investors, because we've always had the potential, but finding resources is never easy. And if we can actually privatize in a humane way, in a way in which we can also take care of some of our demographic dividend issues, some of our acute problems in terms of jobs, capex, per capita income, and take care of various other objectives. The privatization should be a good thing, actually. And someone rightly said on the panel that it hasn't been attempted since probably Mr. Vajpayee's time. So it will be very good to have this kind of initiative. And the other couple of things that stood out for me were the proposals to set up a developmental financial institution as well as a stressed asset fund, perhaps on the lines of what US did in FY 8-9. So these things, I think the budget has charted a course for a very good long-term growth for the economy. Perhaps the most, if I may say, perhaps the most bold budget out of what has been presented under Mr. Modi's government in the term one and this second term. The other thing that stuck for me was this power related reforms and privatization of distribution. I think this would be very important when we are entering the most crucial phase of fighting the climate risk globally. So if we have to do a big work on the renewables and other areas in terms of cutting down emissions by 2030 and beyond, I think we need a much better energy system in the country, electrification system in the country, which is not dependent on fossil fuel, and that would not be possible under an archaic structure. So I think that that is also a very important piece of reform that is announced in the budget. Having said that, I would also outline some of the risks and catalysts here. So our view on the market is not very sanguine from the point of view of valuation. We think valuations are running ahead of time, and the profit growth and even the economic recovery that we have seen is more K-shaped than V-shaped, and therefore the test would be, can that K-shape become V-shaped? Because only then it will be sustainable, and that's very critical. So we would like to see the fact that the vaccination progresses very well, and a large amount of people are vaccinated, therefore the mobility improves, therefore the confidence improves, and that kind of helps the economic recovery. I think from a foreign investor point of view, that will be a great indicator, and that would bring in a lot of portfolio investments as well as direct investments. The PLI scheme also, I think that implementation is critical. Execution is one word when it comes to India, and if the execution of some of the proposals takes place, that will be a very positive thing. The other thing I would watch for is the possibility of a taper in the US, whether in 22 or 23. So that will be critical for us to watch. Any movement before that is going to be a risk, because the flows can reverse and the capital market momentum can be broken. A lot of our budget assumptions are linked to capital market momentum. and therefore that is very essential for us. The other thing would be the commodities price increases globally and the risk associated with the inflation and interest rates. And we are this time around carrying a larger debt. So, we would like to be not caught in that situation. Overall, as a house, our view continues to be very positive on software sector, on telecom, on cement, on tractors, consumer, pharmaceuticals, and private banks. So that's the overall viewpoint from uh, my side. I would once again thank ASSOCHAM and Love for giving me this opportunity, and wish that we have a roaring economy and market during 2021. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Jigar. You really throw good light on overall perspective from the FPIs, what they are looking for. Most importantly, one of the very important point is K versus V, and the jury is still out on this one. So let's see how it pans out. We all hope that it's going to be V and probably more inclusive V. That's how the budget envisaged. But you are absolutely right. Proof of the pudding lies in eating it. So we'll see how it goes. Thanks for your inputs, Jigar. And with that, I would like to move to a bit different stream with Mr. Wadhwa. Thanks for joining, sir. I know we would all want to hear your views on overall impact on the capital markets, but one area where you bring a lot of expertise, and we have not touched that yet, is around the commodities aspect, which not just play impact on the capital market, but also has a inflation impact, and inflation can then impacts a lot of other things, cascading impacts, which probably can lead to anywhere if it goes out of the hand. So over to you with just your thought process overall and the commodities, Mr. Wadhwa.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you, ASSOCHAM, for having me. Thank you, Rajoraji, for organizing this post-budget impact on capital market. I'll first touch upon the commodities market, as you have mentioned. The commodity market, as we know, yesterday I'm a member of CTEC committee. So a lot of things are happening, stiffening of increasing of commodities prices, a dampener, which Jigar has just mentioned. Before mentioning that, it was a treat to listen to you, Jigar, and other panelists, to the perspective of FPI and how they are going to impact. So new products are coming in commodities. That is a good thing. We have been talking about Atmanirbhar India and trade in India. So our regulator is quite proactive and listening to us, and they are bringing about new things so that our companies listed ones, especially, they hedge here and take advantage of the browsers. So they tackle these increasing commodity prices, what we have seen in last 3-4 months, basically. That is from the commodity side. And as Sitpal is there, so I just quote on a lighter note, I'll just say that I have taken a line from Nilesh Kotak AMC's this thing. So he mentioned this budget as a Hindi movie called Geeta and Sita, Sita and Geeta. So why he was referring that this budget is a transition of India from Sita to Geeta. In Sita or Geeta, there was a Hema Malini who is shy, introvert and fearful. Then there is another Hema Malini who is brave, extrovert and who is not afraid of anything. So it is Sita to Geeta transformation of India. From introvert to extrovert, from weak player to a dominant economic player. I'll take that from here. This budget is definitely an ambitious budget from ambitious India, which is willing to grow by making investment. For all these years, we were an infrastructure deficient country. Now we are moving into an infrastructural surplus economy. This is the highest ever capital expenditure done by budget, and it is being spent on roads, railways, healthcare, and education, as mentioned by my co-panelists. From market perspective, it should welcome the pro. Also, it is a budget where philosophy matters more than the numbers. It is a budget of Atmanirbhar Bharat, which is messaging rating agency that it will maintain the path of fiscal prudence on our terms and raise fiscal deficit when necessary to support our economy, like Western countries. It is a budget of confident India, which is saying that we are to be a dominant economic player in post-COVID world, and for that we will encourage domestic industry through incentives like PLI and protection from Chinese dumping by levying import duties, by encouraging entrepreneurs with minimum governance and minimum government and maximum governance. It is a budget of bold India, as I have mentioned earlier. This budget is a self-reliant India, is from self-reliant India, which is saying that will equip our army with all the resources that are needed to defend the sovereignty of our country on a multiple front. This is a budget of transformed India, discrediting that constraints of the past. It is bringing down the cathedral of public sector, saying that we'll do strategic investment of public sector institution, including banks, and will strict government or public sector presence in our 4 strategic areas. We'll become referee rather than a player. We'll give market forces and entrepreneur an opportunity to create wealth. So this is a path which Southeast Asian countries, Eastern European countries, and Latin American countries follow for prosperity. We are late by 7 decades, but now we want to trade on this path only. As far as budget highlights for securities markets are concerned, as mentioned by the others, this again is a rationalization of single securities market code. I would like to hear more from Mr. Jain, what it will bring change for us as a market participant. And another feature was world-class fintech hub at GIFT IFC. Today's news on LRS by allowing Indians to participate in GIFT IFC is a welcome move. This permanent institutional framework for corporate bond market, which nobody has touched in our panel, is again a welcome move. SEBI as a regulator and greater role of WDRA for development of market ecosystem is another welcome move. Investor charter, as Shreepal Shah has also mentioned, as a right across all financial products like government securities and all, this again is a very welcome move. Amending the Insurance Act 1938 to increase the FDI limit with the safeguard is again a, we have been listening it, but it has finally come. So it is a welcome move. Asset Reconstruction Company Limited for PSB, like a bad bank which we have discussed earlier, is again a very welcome move. DDT, evolution of DDT again is taken rightly by the market. So another point, there is a new products in the market like REIT and InvIT. So going away of TDS on REIT and InvIT is a very welcome move for the capital market. Another point, allowing FDIs in REIT and InvIT through debt instrument will give leverage to these companies, and this will, although they have not performed in our market, going forward, I see great future for REIT and InvIT in our capital market. 2 days back, Ashish Chauhanji just messaged me about reaching 200 trillion rupee, which translates into 2.7 trillion. By the way it is growing, our capitalization is growing. I think reaching 5 trillion economy, our markets will reach 5 trillion economy ahead of reaching the economy at $5.5 trillion. So that is all from me. I love, and this is all what.
Thank you, Mr. Wadhwa, and you are absolutely right. I think the race is now the 5 trillion. Is it economy or the market? We all hope that it's economy, but it could go either ways, depending on a lot of factors that got discussed today. And as always, thanks for your inputs and wisdom on various areas. We had discussed borrowings and their participation and the RBI opening up the government securities for retail. Obviously, where the markets are at the current level, the capital markets, and depends which direction it goes, because some of the panelists spoke about the the risk part of it as well. I would now like to request Mr. Kunal Singhvi. I can't see Kunal, but yeah, Kunal Singhvi. If Kunal, you could probably obviously give your inputs on the overall budget and its impact, and also just talk about the retail participation. Now, if what would there be for retail going forward, and what are the things that for the participation perspective, be it stock market or the GSEC, but overall, and your inputs on the budget. All yours, Kunal.
Thank you, Mr. Lord. Thank you for Asochan for inviting me for the session. And I am honored to be a part of the esteemed panelists over here. I believe it's a very pertinent question that you have put on to me, because we being a retail house and we deal with a lot of investors, retail investors, it is something that we keep on analyzing it from that perspective and try and see what happens to the retail investors as well. However, I would like to start with essentially a small quote from the budget itself. It was said also earlier by Mr. Agarwal as well. Faith is the bird that feels the light and sings when the dawn is still dark, by Rabindranath. Nirmala Sitharaman said. I would like to probably highlight the following paragraph. In the spirit, I can't help but recall that we as a cricket-loving nation felt after Team India's particular success in Australia. So it has reminded us of all the qualities that we as a people, particularly our youth, epitomize of having abundant promise and the unselfish thirst to perform and succeed. So I believe this essentially
Just a bit, Kunal. There is a background noise. Can I just request all other panelists to just mute the thing, please? Just so, I think there is a lot of background noise. Thank you so much. Kunal, all yours.
Yeah, thank you. So essentially, this quote and the following paragraph for me talks of the overall celebration, the way in which like the Indian team has come out. Similarly, we as a country has been able to come out of this whole pandemic and the efforts of the government that has resulted in terms of taking the economy and managing the overall thing. And with that, we are got into a stage, as everybody has been rightly highlighting, that the way in which as a country we are trying to grow from leaps and bounds and trying to take one step after the other, seeing one of the largest market capitalization like on Bombay Stock Exchange, the overall market capitalization is just inching to 200 lakh crores. So that's an important number that everybody is seeing, and that's something that's also striking the mind of retail investors as well. So I strongly believe one of the important things that the retail investors have seen in this budget is about simplicity. It has been quite simple. They have been able to digest it. And I believe as a play, there has been a larger play with respect to how the overall asset allocation and capital allocation has happened. It's not necessarily spread across so much in a manner that people are not able to really gauge the understanding of it. And that is what has actually helped everybody to try and understand. One more thing that I believe the retail investors are seeing it very closely is the overall disinvestment criteria and the disinvestment targets that the government is looking at. Everybody believed that in spite of having LIC on the disinvestment radar, which is probably going to take up more than 60% of the overall target of 1.75 lakh crores, it is still lesser than last year of 2.1 lakh crores. So that's way more realistic. That is what comes out. And realistic, being true to oneself, is not only loved by foreign investors, it is equally loved by retail investors. And nowadays, if you see, significant of retail participation is happening from millennials, who are quite information savvy, who are quite tech savvy, and they are able to try and assimilate this information and also digest it and in turn reflect it in the markets as well, which we all saw came out to be very, very good even after few days of the budgets as well, because one may have an impromptu reaction in the markets, which everybody saw was very good, but still we are seeing, like if you see, one of the things that is there, which is loved by everybody, is public sector banks. So the privatization story is so well appreciated that it's not going to only help the banks that are getting privatized, but even the other public sector banks. So almost all the banks, a lot of public sector banks, maybe in the range of 80 to 90% of government holdings. So again, if they are privatized, although two may be privatized now, but the impact is going on a lot of other banks as well. And that's where if you see a stock like State Bank of India moving from 284 rupees to approximately 400 rupees, which is like a phenomenal rise of around 30% in just 5 trading sessions. So these kind of things have really moved up the sentiment, and sentiment is something that also rules retail a lot. The second thing, if you see that we see from a budget impact perspective, is uh, there has been a larger liquidity. The overall spend of 34 lakh crore rupees, which is higher as compared to previous period, is going to have sufficient liquidity in the ecosystem, and which is going to hike up the inflation. Now, this is something one has to be very wary of, because if you see 2020 has been quite a bull run, and all the stocks in the markets in general has been very, very positive. 2021, after a bull run period with a higher inflation, may have some kind of a negative impact on the profitability of the companies, because the interest rates are also going to be on the little bit upbeat side as compared to the previous financial year. So that is one more area as a watch out, I would say, from a valuations and an investment perspective. And we will definitely not see the kind of the overall bullish run that we saw in 2020 again in 2021. So while the budget is good and this is a celebration time, it's a celebration time also of what has been an outcome of the earlier period, and hence what has been also reflected in the budget. Now, coming to the securities market core, which everybody has said rightly, I just want to quote one simple example over there based on my previous experience in the stock exchange, working in a stock exchange earlier, wherein even if you wanted to amend a very small thing, a definition of securities in SCRA would necessarily, whether it will include commodities or not, would be a debate in itself. And therefore, commodities may not be compatible with SCRA. And similar kind of issues would actually slow down a lot of reforms. And lot of such reforms are impacting market in a very big manner, wherein everybody is of the opinion that this needs to be done, but the impact analysis, the related changes, the related regulatory impact by respective divisions would slow down the overall process, and at times the interpretation issues would actually halt. Now, getting this is a big boost to the overall thing. I thought it is important to mention that over here, and I was very happy listening Mr. Parag on this, that and I would probably want to hear more from him on this particular aspect, as this is a kind of a milestone thing that we have seen. I believe the budget, while the finance minister has put it into 6 pillars, that is health and well-being, physical and financial, capital and infrastructure, inclusive development for aspirational India, reinvigorating human capital, innovation and R&D, and lastly, minimum government and maximum governance. I would also want to say it is further can be, as a result out of whatever proposals were made, can be put into 3 strong bucketing aspects, wherein one of the important thing is it was a banking heavy budget, from the perspective that through making the banking strong, finance minister has been able to put the whole country into a very strong economy. So I would just like to give $150 billion is the size of the stressed assets. Now that comes to approximately 9 to 10 lakh crores is what is estimated. Now this is what is evident. And this is the opportunities that these kind of funds that will be created out of the ARCs and asset management of stress assets that will be created, that will manage. A lot more will come, which will boost a lot of private sector banks as well. But a larger perspective is that the credit overall will offtake in a big manner because of these kind of initiatives, and hence the economy will offtake, which is so through banking reforms, the overall economic reforms is something that one has to look at. And that's where I see as a very strong play, not only for banking. If you ask me from a broking and a capital markets perspective, larger the money in the ecosystem, which this budget is definitely giving for, is the larger management that will happen in the overall ecosystem. And hence, as you said, the race to $5 trillion is something that we are going to experience in the overall scheme of things. Small things like exempting TDS on dividend for AIFs and REITs in which is an incentive like what was done to electric vehicles push in the previous budgets, which actually took off the wave and a kind of revolution in country. So these kind of vehicles and the related regulations will get a very strong push because of these kind of initiatives of just exempting a little bit or giving some kind of incentive around it. And that is something really appreciable from an overall constructive perspective. So all to summarize, it is a budget with a lot of depth. It is a budget which has actually taken a lot of ground level realities rather than really innovating around a lot of international benchmark or academic aspects as well. And that's where, while there are a lot of risk we see from a valuation perspective in the coming financial year, because we have seen a bull run in the previous year and inflation inching higher, we still believe strongly that this is going to make the economy very strong. And that's where I see this as a very, very welcome thing. So thank you once again for having me to speak. Back to you, Mr. Lau.
Thanks, Kunal. Sorry, I was muted. Thanks, Kunal. I think, as you rightly mentioned, the one clear key for the retail always has been simplicity. And if the simplicity can be accomplished, a lot can be done in the retail space. We are all learning that. We also now through the GameStop knows the power of retail as well, not just the simplicity but the power. We'll see how does power pan out in from the Indian market context over next few years with the retail participation hopefully growing. I think I hear the jury is a bit mixed on the overall valuation as far where we are and where the opportunities may be with regard to capital market. And obviously, whenever we talk about market, for most part, we all have Nifty or Sensex in our mind. But actually, the market is much more broader with the mid cap and small cap. I think it is so apt that I have my friend, Mr. Jayesh Gandhi, who can put some light on this jury, which is still out on the valuation going forward, and can give some perspective. His immense experience in this space for last decade and so, as to obviously the overall budget and what's your thought process on the overall impact, but also on broad base versus the mid cap, small cap, and give some color on the valuation, Judge. It will really be beneficial to all of us and the participants. Over to you, Judge.
Well, Love, hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, wonderful. So first of all, thank you, ASSOCHAM, for having me, and hello to my fellow panelists. It was great hearing all of them, and I frankly have learned quite a bit. So I was taking notes. In the interest of time, and I'll try and be as brief as I can. A slightly contrarian view from my side. What COVID-19 did was it was kind of a tsunami. And there's a very good phrase used that that rising tide lifts all boats. What this tsunami COVID-19 did, and the kind of money which was flown in by the global central banks into the world economy to save their own economies from falling apart, was a huge tsunami which lifted all global equity markets. So surprise, surprise, Indian equity is at all-time high. So is Nasdaq. So is S&P 500. So is European markets. So we Indians tend to think that we are the center of the universe. We actually are not. Let me be very honest here, and we should appreciate that Indian equities are participating in the global equity rally, which is what has happened in 2020. So how is 2021 going to be different from 2020? Can this rally continue? And what about valuation, which is the question that you asked me? 2020 was all about global central banks and the money that they were pumping into the system. To give you some numbers, the global central banks, the top 5 global central banks, have pumped in $20 trillion, which is equal to the United States of America in terms of economic size, in the last 6-8 months. So basically, they created a whole new USA out of thin air. That is the kind of money which is pumped in. And obviously, when you talk about valuation are not isolated. Valuation depends on the amount of money and the interest rates which are there in the system, right? So if the size of the money and the interest rates are so low and the size of the money so high, obviously the valuations are going to be high, especially for assets which continue to compound and grow. On back of that, we had some fantastic corporate earnings across the board. It is not only Indian companies, but companies across the world. Corporates have been able to control costs really well. So the sectors and companies which have really survived this COVID-19 and are thriving now are actually giving blowout numbers. And that is the other reason why equity markets are doing what they're doing. So how is, again, coming back to the key question, how is 21 different? 21 is going to be all about fiscal policy. What we saw in the budget is the demonstration of what our government, our finance minister, and our policymakers are ready to do to save our economy and push it so that it can get out of the pandemic related economic stress and start growing again fast and probably grow faster. It's not surprising that in US they are debating something similar, right? They're talking about $2 trillion of fiscal stimulus, the Biden administration, and so it's going to be in Europe, and I'm sure Japanese are also thinking of similar lines. So this year is going to be all about fiscal policy. Now, so the other quick question is that will the markets continue to rally, and can India outperform? And what we are seeing in the last 2 months in particular, and the budget is also added, is that India now has a very strong possibility of outperforming the global economy. First and foremost, the number of cases in India are much lower. We are the vaccine capital of the world. We can produce and vaccinate our population at a much faster rate than anybody else, any other country, be it developed country or developing country. Our economic engine had fallen but has recovered very, very quickly. If I look at wide variety of parameters, the China plus one policy, or the global dynamics against China, is really going to benefit India as it emerges out of this pandemic and showcases the world as it's one of the biggest manufacturing hub in the world. And the key number of policy reforms that the government of India has already undertaken, plus the one which will be announced in the budget, so on and so forth. So what it does, all this does, is gives us an opportunity, India as an economy, to really outpace the world in the recovery in 2021 and beyond. And that is what the markets are playing for today, and probably over the medium term. Now, having said all that, I also agree with Kunal and his assessment that, look, there is again a very important quote from Warren Buffett, right? When others are greedy, be fearful, and when others are fearful, be greedy. Today, there is so much greed in the world on equities. So as retail investor or as investors across, you have to be careful and watchful. That doesn't mean that you don't invest, but you take risk mitigating measures, because markets can be very, very volatile. About valuations, my sense is that as the year progresses, there are 3 or 4 key aspects that one has to look at and one really doesn't know the short-term impact on the market and the corrections and volatility. But over the medium term, as an investor, and what will drive valuations are some of the key issues. First and foremost is the inflation, the interest rates. Everybody understands that if so much money is pumped into the global economy and also in India, inflation will shoot up, and that will drive interest rates higher. And if what has happened in the world in 2020, the interest rates have been brought down so low that has acted as a gravitational pull for all asset classes, all earning asset classes like equities. Is that changing in 21? My sense it will not change in 21 so much, but so much in 22. But we have to watch this. The other key aspect that we have to watch in terms of valuation and how the market behaves is the policy action. While a lot of policy and reforms have been announced, on the ground, what is changing? Is it being implemented properly and consistently in a manner that we all believe it should be implemented? Is there something that markets will be watching very closely? And this stimulus and the liquidity driven benign interest rate policy is something that the markets, equity markets in particular, will be very keen to watch. If the markets play out as I see over the medium term, then there is a very strong possibility that markets, equity as an asset class, will still give better returns than most of the asset classes. So let me broaden this a bit. There are really 4 or 5 key asset classes that Indian investors can invest in. One is Indian equities, second is foreign equities, fixed income, gold, commodities, and real estate, your own house or real estate. And I think all the 4 or 5 asset classes that we talked about, equity as an asset class, Indian equities as an asset class will outperform. If you see preceding 3 years, it was the foreign equities which were outperforming and fixed income which was doing relatively better. But for the next 2 to 3 year or medium term, I think equities can outperform. And for that to happen, the key is that we need to sustain strong economic growth, not only in 21, which is already in the budget, 15% nominal GDP growth, 10% plus real GDP growth, but in 22, 23, and so on. So next 3 years, strong economic growth is what is required, and that is will come largely from the policy action on the ground, which is very important for all of us to check and monitor closely. And not the last but not the least, the key reason why markets do well is corporate profits. What we have seen in the last 3 years in particular is that corporate profits had actually come off quite a bit because the economy was slowing down. That has changed in the last 2 quarters, in the sense that the September quarter and the December quarter is showing much better momentum. Now, this is a global phenomenon. Can we sustain this corporate profit growth? Is the other key question that as investor I would like to find more information, or at least do more research on. As things stand today, the corporate profits are expected to grow by 25% for the next 2 years. And if this trend continues, then I don't see any reason why equities as an asset class should not outperform. And if 25% of profit growth happens and nominal GDP growth for India for the next 2 years is double digit and more, that is over 10% and more, I have no doubt in my mind that the mid and small cap will outperform the large cap. So valuations are one way of looking at the overall scenario. Volatility is here to stay. There's no doubt about it. One can't really predict the short term, but over the medium term, the outlook on equity is strong. Don't be too much worried about the valuation. Focus on corporate earnings and economic growth. If that is delivered by this, as the budget has planned to do, and if the global economy is supportive, if we are able to take care of the through the vaccination process, take care of the pandemic, and Indian economy recovers very quickly, then equity as a class and the stock market should deliver the returns that investors are expecting. Let me stop here.
Great. It's always good to hear, Jayesh. I would agree to you that equity as an asset class would definitely have to outperform over next 2-3 years if we have to achieve the growth rate that we are aspiring for. So thanks so much for your inputs. We are running short of time, but I would like to, there are 2 things that came out from all the discussion, and especially what Jayesh also mentioned. One was the essence of fiscal deficit. That is now has become like a key thing. And second is on the securities code, as to what is it that it can actually propel or help the larger capital market or the financial market. I would just specifically with regard to securities code would like to go back to Mr. Jain and just get his quick perspective on securities code execution and the outcome. Just give what do you believe in these two areas, sir?
So thanks, Mr. Chaturvedi. But this exercise is much more complex and requires much more vision than any of us can imagine. Because that's going to decide the structure of the markets in a sense. So like our stock exchanges are, as I said, we have only one definition of stock exchange, unlike, let's say, in the US. I mean, okay, I know that the US markets are getting a bad name for GameStop and for the, passing of orders to for sale to the other people. But point is that we've had very little flexibility in our definitions of stock exchange. We've had problems with the definition of security, for example. That's what Mr. Sanghvi, I think, pointed out. And it's very difficult. So, these are real bottlenecks when you want to carry out reforms. So this SCRA has to be completely rewritten, and it has to incorporate the vision of. So I mean, it is largely about stock exchanges, by the way. Just to clarify, SCRA is largely about stock exchanges and clearing corporations. I mean, which are sort of similar. So I mean, it has to incorporate what is our vision of a present day market or even a future. I mean, market in the future, and how much. I mean, I think we have been pretty obsessed with safety, I think, which is of course not a bad thing, but but we have to also let it grow. We have to let it be innovative. We have to have some flexibility. So so I hope, and like everybody has been saying here and otherwise, implementation is the key, and implementation is not a we don't have a great track record in this country, but but implementation will be the key in this exercise. But this exercise has a lot of potential in just reusing the same word which I used earlier, in debottlenecking the market, because unless because there is almost but I just do see green shoots of desire to innovate now. I think Mr. Shah mentioned about Sandbox, and there are many other things. Recently they have come up with the limited purpose clearing corporation, for example, for mutual funds. So I am beginning to see green shoots of desire to innovate. I hope that desire to innovate and to balance all factors. I mean, not just safety. I mean, safety, of course, is outside SCRA. I mean, but still, I'm saying most of our effort has been focused on, so for example, margins were increased, right, recently, quite considerably. I'm not an expert on that, but I don't know whether that was entirely justified to, the increase in margins that they were increased. So I think the word optimization is something which has to get into the lexicon of a lot of people, a lot of policymakers, rather than maximization, because everything has a trade-off somewhere, right? So that's what. So I think this is an exercise of enormous potential and enormous debottlenecking and enormous efficiencies if it is done well, and that applies to a lot of other things which we spoke about in terms of reforms, whether privatization would actually happen, whether or will it just get rolled over to the next budget? So all those things.
All right. No,
I hope I answered your question.
No, you're right. Thank you so much, sir. As always, this is something that we are all hoping that execution, implementation, and hopefully it will not be a perennial rollovers for the different budget. On the fiscal deficit, I would just like just to request, because I was a bit late also, couldn't hear Dr. Saurabh Agarwal all the way through. And on the fiscal deficit, so what's your? That's probably the biggest elephant in the room, and hope, and the hope of the budget, it looks like, is that the growth is the way out of the deficit for the most part over some medium term. Sir, what's your view on that?
So I think the growth is the budget is pro growth, and for that we need money, and for that the government has decided to let loose its policy under the FRBM Act, and it is okay to have fiscal deficit. It is expected it will increase by 9%, and then it is going to go down to 6.8%. I think for a country like India, focusing more on spending, creating infrastructure, propelling growth, creating environment for good environment, regulatory environment for businesses, that is the key, and practically reducing unemployment and disguised unemployment, which has soared in the last 1 year. And I think what you started off, faith, I have complete faith that we would achieve our targets without losing out on fiscal prudence. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Jayesh. That would have answered the bit for the next year. But hopefully it'll pan out.
Hopefully, yeah.
Hopefully it'll pan out that way. That's what it is. I really
Exactly.
hope that we had more time in our hand. I think we are now running out of time as well. Unless and until there's anybody from any of the panelists to elaborate on anything, would be welcome before I begin my concluding remarks. Anybody? I think
I would
we have
just
covered
say,
almost.
if I would just say, if AIF was granted pass-through in category 3, that would have been an
Yeah.
added.
That's correct. That's correct, sir. There is. You're absolutely right. Let's see. Hopefully, there is always something for next budget. So, but it would have been, if it was done this time, it would have been better. Completely agree on that.
Yeah. So Love, one quick
Yes,
point,
sir.
and
Sure.
somebody pointed out to me that I did not answer that properly, and let me clarify. I do believe that over the medium term, while equity as asset class hopefully does well, the mid and small cap, that is the broad market, is expected, or at least I expected to do better than the large caps. I thought I did not. So if you have a much broader portfolio, then that should hopefully do better than the narrow portfolio performance that we saw in the preceding 3 years.
That's correct. And it's always better from risk perspective as well. It's like more diversified.
That's
from
right.
that perspective.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Somebody pointed out to me. I thought I should clarify. Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks, Jayesh. Thanks. Anything else from anybody? Let me tell you, it was an amazing session. Hearing each one of you giving your perspective. I really hope that, first of all, I would like to thank each one of you to participate in today's session. Just got a bit delayed due to technical thing, but I also hope all our participants also enjoyed and learned and got a lot of inputs. 2021 will be, one thing is for sure, that 2021 will be a landmark year for India, which now been compared with 1991 or more, or for the growth rate of 2004 to 2008. Basically, anything and everything transforming ever happened in India is getting compared for this year and next year. That means there is a lot at the stake, and we truly hope that when we reconvene next year, we will continue with this smile and continue with our momentum and with our with our optimism about the India as an economy and our capital market as well. With that, I would like to conclude today's session. Thank each panelist, and thank you participants. Have a nice weekend. See you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Love. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
For doing a
Thank you,
wonderful
everyone.
job.
Thanks.
SHM India.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, SOTM.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.